Hey guys, Redneck Mini 14 here, and I finally got my Henry Big Boy off of layaway. This is just a really nice rifle, and I got this to do cowboy action shooting. So I have one Ruger Vaquero, one Stoker coach gun, and now I have this, so I just need one more Ruger Vaquero to complete the set, and I can start practicing cowboy action shooting. Obviously I need to get some more ammo though, because this, along with my Ruger Vaquero, is a 45 Colt, and I don't have a whole lot of 45 Colt, but I do have a little bit so I can practice with it and hopefully find some more and maybe some reloading supplies in the near future. But we're just going to do a quick review of the rifle, and if you have never owned or handled a Henry, they're very nice guns, and I've always been more of a Marlin kind of guy, specifically because of Henry's lack of a loading gate. The original Henrys that they came out with did not have a loading gate. They only loaded through the tube, and I didn't really like that. I like that on, like 22s and other rimfire rifles, but when it comes to 45 Colt or 30-30, 45-70, I don't want to take a tube out to load those kind of guns. I prefer a loading gate. Well, in just the last few years, they've started putting loading gates on some of their rifles. And this past year, they put loading gates on these Henry Big Boy steel models. And so I found one I found one that had a good layaway plan, so I decided to snatch it up. Now, it wasn't cheap. I believe after taxes and fees and everything, it was like $900. So it's worth a pretty penny. It costs more than my Marlin 1894 did several years ago, but it is a much smoother gun. Although I do still prefer the look of the 1894. I'll do a comparison video of the two, but it is a very smooth gun, and it'll only get smoother over time. So 45 Colt, got your side loading gate here, has a transfer bar mechanism in the hammer, so the transfer bar is actually runs in a channel in the hammer, instead of there being a transfer bar that rides up behind the actual firing pin. It's a little bit different than like on your Ruger Blackhawks and Vaqueros and things like that. This is a slightly different design. Nice walnut stock and forend. Has some really nice aggressive checkering. I'm not sure. I guess it's cut checkering. It could be pressed. I'm not sure. One thing I thought was interesting is the checkering on the stock actually wraps around the bottom of the stock. So that's kind of cool. It does have a straight grip stock, and it has the rounded lever as opposed to the squared off lever that you see on some lever action rifles. Has semi-buckhorn sights and your basic front bead sight, and then of course in true Henry fashion it does still have the tube load, so you can pull the tube out, load your rounds, put the tube back, and go from there, and then you're loaded. 20-inch barrel, 10 round capacity. Being that it is a 45 Colt, there's no 45 special like there is with a 44 Magnum or a 357 Magnum. There is something called 45 Schofield, I think is what it's called, which is very, very rare. The average person's probably never going to come across 45 Schofield, and but I think that's kind of like the equivalent of a special round, but really no benefit to having 45 Schofield, because I'm sure it's very expensive and you can't really find it, and I don't know how easy it would be to reload. I guess you could use maybe you could use 45 Colt dies, I don't know, but Anyway, that is the Henry Big Boy steel model. Very nice gun, a very smooth gun. Haven't shot it yet, but I imagine it's going to be plenty accurate, especially accurate enough for cowboy action shooting, because the targets are pretty big and you're not very far away anyway. So I imagine it'll be okay for that. Oh, one other thing that this does have is it has sling swivel studs, so you can put a sling on this rifle. Some of them do come with sling swivel studs and some don't. It just depends on the model. Like if it's the brass receiver, I think it might not have sling swivel studs, or like some of their 22s and stuff. Some of them don't have sling swivel studs, but this particular model does. And man, I'm just so in love with this rifle. Again, I prefer the look of the Marlin 1894, but as far as just like a really nice, smooth rifle, and I do love this checkering. It is, in my opinion, better checkering than at least my 1895. I'd have to compare it with the 1894. Because I think that checkering is a little bit better than the 1895, but I guess it's about on par with my 336. 336 does have some pretty nice checkering on it as well, although that is pressed checkering. This, not 100% sure, but it might be cut checkering. But again, these guns are not that cheap, and especially in today's market where price and demand, supply and demand has driven gun prices through the roof. Normally something like this would probably be like $700. I paid like $840 on Gunbroker, and after taxes, because it was in my state, I paid almost $900, I think, maybe even more. I'm not sure, because you got shipping and FFL fees in there as well. But not a cheap gun. In fact, this might be the most expensive gun in my entire collection. And I've got some nice guns, like I got an M1 Garand, I got a Mini 14, Mini 30. I do have some nice guns that do cost a pretty penny, but I think this one tops them all, just in my personal collection. But can't wait to get this gun out and try it out. I never shot 45 Colt through a rifle, only through a revolver, so I'm kind of curious to see how it feels compared to like a 44 Magnum, which I have shot in a rifle. So I think that will be an interesting test as well. But anyway, that's just a quick review of the Henry Big Boy steel model 45 Colt. They have these in all different configurations, like a brass receiver, a brass receiver. They might have a silver, and they have like an all-weather model. They've got all different kinds of models, color case hardened, octagonal barrels. This is just a basic round barrel, and again, this is like the base model of the big boys, and it was $900. So you can imagine if you get into these more expensive, more fancy models, you're spending well over $1,000 just on one rifle, which is pretty pricey, and debatable on whether or not it's worth it. I kind of cringed at the price for this one, but in the end I ended up with a nice rifle, even if it is the base model rifle. So anyway, that's the Henry Big Boy steel model in 45 Colt. Subscribe to my channel, like me on Facebook. I'm Redneck Mini 14, and until next time, be safe.